Hello, I'm Twilight Sparkle, and I did not ask for this rain. However, since I have alicorn rings and creative mode, what we're going to do is, there we are. We're here because I'm going to show you how to make a Place the Key control box, which is what this is going to be. I've more or less been in charge of doing this, and I've constructed a device, which is a very exciting, interesting device. Here's how it works. The idea of this box is that there's a timer. I can't get a hang of these wings. I'm falling all over the place. And the timer is, the timer is operated by these hoppers that are all in a great big loop. As you can see, if I look in the hopper, there is one piece of bedrock floating around inside it. And the size of the array of hoppers is what tells you how long the delay is going to be. I've just got a set of 4, sort of going out this way, and then, I forget exactly how it's going. It's doing something. It's going around and over. I can probably look at the directions of these things and see that... Ah, yes. That's how it works. It goes through here. You can see where they're pointing. And over there. And then it goes in this little curve this way, taking up a little extra time. And then around again. The reason that I have it doing that is because, logically, the bedrock can only be in one of the hoppers at once. One of the problems of these timers is that you can run into difficulties if they're across chunk boundaries or something, and sometimes they just refuse to work or they stop, and that will never do in this one because the consequences would be terrible. We have 2 comparators, and the 2 comparators are powering blocks based on where that chunk of bedrock is. And here's how that works. The first comparator, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't actually need these right now. The first comparator is powering that block, which in turn is powering a repeater. You can see that happening from over here too. Oh. I'm not getting the hang of flying very well. They're both like this. The comparator powers the block if there's something in the hopper, which happens when the piece of bedrock comes through. It could be any piece of anything. I prefer there being only one thing because otherwise they can get mixed up and derped. That powers the repeater, and the repeater provides more power to the command block. And the command block is making a test and outputting with this comparator. You power the block to do the test on it, and then the comparator tells you what the answer was. And that powers the repeater, which lets it run more powerful things. Now, this is the main one. This is connected to... See this, the light that's flashing? That light is flashing because it's on top of the bedrock that's being powered. Now, I could have powered the command block directly, but I recommend, when making Place the Key maps, I recommend if there's an indicator light, it should be on top of a piece of bedrock so that you can't get inside the box and change anything. This tests for a dragon egg at a relative position. what that position is these little squiggly things are the position of the command block, and if you do -2 and 2, what you get is it's checking for over 1, and then over 1, and then up 1, and then up 1. It's checking for the space over that flashing light, because the flashing light is where you must place a dragon egg to win the game. Hopefully people will be able to figure that part out. I may need to make better instructions. If somebody places a dragon egg there, then it will fire this command block. And it goes through this repeater, which has a slight delay on it, which may or may not be necessary at this time, but there was a previous design that I had. And that powers this block, which a piston is connected to. If that block is still there, it will power this, and the redstone gets extended. And if the redstone is hovering over this bit of redstone here, it powers this chain. And this chain is the victory condition chain. And what that does is the signal comes through here. It powers a repeater so that I can power this block. And that block is connected to this, so it's setting weather clear for an incredibly long time. Then this repeater, and it's this block, and it's making the daylight cycle start again. I should start by talking about the other part. You start the game by pulling this lever. That's the win condition, but you start the game by pulling this lever. And what that does is as follows. You can power a block by pulling a lever. It works that way, whereas running redstone over it won't really power it in quite the same way. So the signal goes over here, and it makes this go off, which powers this chain. That's the startup chain. If you start up Nightmare Moon, here's what you get. You get thunder for, I think it's 100 seconds. It makes a scoreboard and adds the objective kills. It says add kills, and I believe that means associate total kill count with kills. That continues to run the circuit through to here. You could have another command block here, but I decided not to have one. This puts the display of kills below everybody's name on a multiplayer server. This sets command block output to false, which I think I've already done that in the settings of the level, but just in case it wasn't done. This plays a spooky sound. By the way, if I power this, it'll be powering other blocks, and then the other blocks will set off the entire rest of the chain. Continues to go down this way, and set block back 1 and up 4, 0, 0 replace. It's replacing a block with air, because air is 0, 0. What's up 4? What was it, this one down here? No, and it sets time to midnight. And it sets the daylight cycle to false, because this is Nightmare Moon, and it plays the sound again. So if you run this chain, it sets all these things up, keeps track of how many things you've killed, and by the way, that includes mobs as well as other players. And then, this block, you go back 1 and up 4, and replace that with air. Let's see what that was. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, and back 1. It replaces the switch with air. So when you fire this off, the switch goes away immediately. And you go, oh, now how am I supposed to shut this off? And there was no way to shut it off anyhow, but it's just an incentive to not keep firing the startup chain all over and over again. Now, that said, you've started the game. You've started Nightmare Moon, so it is set to permanent midnight with these conditions. I had other conditions such as having regeneration off, but it proved to be very difficult anyhow, so And it's setting up a condition that is watching how many kills have been made. Now, if you place the dragon's egg, let me see, I've got one of them here somewhere. There it is. If you place the dragon's egg, it fires this middle chain, assuming everything is right and assuming that this is still there. Oh, I hear a skeleton. I'm in creative mode, it can't hurt me. You better not hurt me. I'm going to have to fill this place in once I'm finished because, yeah. So, if you win, it sets the weather to clear, and it sets the daylight cycle to true, and it sets a block over 1 and up 3 to redstone block. That block was this one right here. So that's the one that fires the wind chain, but it also is the one that illuminates that light. So if you do the wind condition and you set the block to redstone block, the light goes on and stays on, and that's the first thing you see, is that the light that has been blinking is now glowing. Then time set 21,800. Actually, I think I could probably do 21,900. That is setting the time to just before dawn. And then lastly, it plays the sound again. Now I'm being harassed by this skeleton. Let's go and have a look at this other one, and then we'll get a chance to demonstrate it. With the skeleton hanging around and bothering me. This fires a moment before the other chain does. Previously I had it checking all based on the same chain, but what happened was he did a test run, and the wrong player was standing too near the output thing. Anyway, it didn't work. I had to redesign it. So this is testing for player with the kills min of 1 and a radius of 32. What that means, effectively, is it's looking for a player that has killed at least one. It's looking for the nearest player, first of all. That's what P is. So I'll show you again. P means the nearest player. It's finding out whether that person has at least one kill of something and is near 32 blocks. If that is the case, it fires this chain. If it fires this chain, it powers this block, and that powers this piston, and also this piston. So it'll put this out of the way, and you can no longer fire the victory condition until it's gone back. It's a sticky piston, so it does go back. Then, it's fired this chain, which was originally, see, this was the fail, kill everything chain, which is not what we're doing anymore, but that was what we called it at the time. And that's firing this series of things, which is really only 3 things. It's playing a thunderclap. It's giving a nausea for 1 second. Actually, I'll make that be 3 seconds. We'll see what that is like. And it goes through to here, and it gives you blindness for 1 second, so the lights sort of dim for a moment. Now, I will show you what is about to happen, because I am within 32 blocks. Hi, horrible skeleton. I'm going to commit cardinal original sin and kill you now. That wasn't a very long nausea. Let's do that over again. You will see that this goes back once the timer goes around. So now we're cleared, but there are still more monsters. And now I'm going to be farther away, so what I'm going to do is kill one of these spiders. There, now I've killed a thing. In fact, I'm going to kill several of them. approve of these spiders. They're nasty, mean creatures. Ha! Serves them right. There, now I've got several kills. Oh, another horrible creature. This is quite something. This is like wreaking terrible vengeance upon bad monsters. Oh? Ah. I flew within 32 blocks. So here's what's going to happen. I'm off at a distance, and we can see it blinking. It's setting itself back to, innocence, I suppose you would say. Now, I, as the nearest player, I am carrying a, score of kills, so what will happen is, I'll let it blink, and fly in as fast as I can. Now, when it goes off, we're going to flash in a moment of sickness. That is the sign that I'm the one that's not supposed to be too near the thing. If it's doing that, that means that this is a bad time for... I should not be placing the dragon egg. If there's another person, we're calling that person the Fluttershy, because Fluttershy doesn't kill anything. If the Fluttershy is the nearest one... Oh, and if the Fluttershy and a person who's been killing things exchange places, this will fire off every time they've changed places and the timer comes around. It won't go off every time the timer comes around. They have to be within 32 blocks. But it will fire off anyhow when they change places. Now, let's do that again. And I'll also note that you can see that the piston is out of the way there, so if I did place the dragon egg, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't fire the thing off, and not only that, you'd have to remove the dragon egg and place it again in order... Well, no, the command block is going to continue to be powered as long as the dragon egg is there, and since you can't remove a dragon egg properly and still get it back, and there's only one dragon, you kind of have to put it correctly and leave it there. But the thing is, the way this is working, you can change places between the Fluttershy and the pony that's been killing things. And if you do that and you've got the dragon egg placed and this chain is being powered, then that will retract and it will eventually fire the correct one. Oh, now this thing is going to annoy me. I'm tempted to kill it and it'll only screw up my score. I'm not allowed to kill it. Now, as you can see, this has been withdrawn. That is there. Oh, an Enderman of all things. I better fix this while we still have it. Oh! Is that actually nighty enough, or is this... I'm not satisfied with the quality of this night. 1300? Let's make it 1800. I think that's midnight. 18,000. There we go. Okay, this is what it's going to look like. And there'll be no time moving. But, if I am innocent, and you're tempting me not to be innocent, mean, nasty spiders, I'm going to fly around and kill you as soon as I get the chance. If I, as the Fluttershy, place this on there, the timer will come around, and... the sound is fired off. You can see that this light is continuing to be on, and you can see dawn breaking, showing that time is moving again, and the eternal night is finished. So this should be a good moment during playing the game. You'll have conquered all of these different things, and gone into the strongholds and stuff, and then You place the dragon's egg if you've succeeded in getting it. And that thing had better not take any of my machine. And you'll get to see dawn break. We've set it up. I prefer not to move the box or relocate it, because if you set it up this way and face the signs, it looks like you should be facing the signs. You get to look into the dawn. And we'll place the box in a place where seeing the dawn is nice. You'll see it like rising over the sea or something like that. And having done so, we can close this. And I've mentioned that one of the things this chain does is it replaces a block with redstone. That's keeping everything on. If I remove it and replace it with bedrock, everything withdraws and resets itself. Now I can also demonstrate something else. Firstly, there. We've got this set up. So we've relaunched the game, and it's all operating the way that it should. I'm going to fly around and kill some things and instill myself with sin. Particularly if they're inside there. Yes, you're not allowed to be in here. I don't want any spare things in this. Oh, there's another detail. And notice how this is floating in the middle of, I'll be filling in the sides of this with bedrock. This is just that I can show it off. There's a block space between the bedrock and the command block, so you can't operate the machine by placing redstone on the outside of it. Otherwise, you could perhaps place redstone on the outside of it and power things. You'd power the block, and it would power the block adjacent to the command block, and then you could make parts of it run, and that would never do. But there is one thing that I have had to, that I will have to remedy. I have to fill in all the spaces inside the box with bedrock, kind of like this. No, not like that, because that's not correct at all. Kind of like this. Because when we ran the machine, Enderman were spawning inside of it, which is not helpful at all. So we'll just fill it up like that. Oops. Now I gotta hold down the shift to do that. This flying, you take some getting used to. I suppose I'll probably be filling in. Yeah, I guess that's gonna work. Yep. We'll do that. So the middle of this box is going to be filled in with things that make Enderman not able to teleport inside here, and perhaps also lights, so that other monsters don't. I'll just get some glowstone or something, and I'll place that. But and of course, the top surface like this. See, once you're finished demonstrating the machine properly. Oh, I am still going to have to get in and replace the redstone again. Now see this? It has detected that I have killed. So, in this case, if I place the dragon egg, I have killed. We're correctly determining that the dragon egg is there, but that is not. But if the player who's supposed to be the Fluttershy moves in here, that releases and the other one fires. And the light goes and stays permanently on. And there's the first inkling of dawn. Ta-da! So, I hope you've enjoyed this. I have a certain amount of fussing and making of blocks to do here. Firstly, I need to fly in here and reset this map to... There we are. At which point the middle part resets because there's no longer a dragon egg on top of there, and yeah, because there's no longer a dragon egg on top of there, and there's no longer a redstone block that's forcibly powering everything. Now, what my job is to do is to simply fill in everything until it looks much like this, but on all sides. Oops. Serves you right, you better not get inside the machine. Nasty mobs. They deserve a good killing. It'll be much like this. When we're finished, all sides of the block will be bedrock and look like this. Or indeed, like that. Enderman is taking sand away. This is how, oh goodness. No, don't go in there. I don't want you going in there. I'll be picking, oh, and now I've killed something, so it doesn't like me. There's a lot to keep track of here. It's given me a warning, a dreaded warning. Anyways, this is how to make a Place the Key map. What you do is you check for a space above, perhaps a flashing light, inside a big bedrock box that the player can't get into. You might have a lever to pull to start everything off. Or, I suppose I could start off with just the circulating thing. I liked having the lever because I like having people sort of get their bearings in a condition like this, and then fire it off and experience the world going terribly wrong as midnight strikes and all the terrible things happen. Anyway, the point is that this is how you make a Place the Key map. It is a timer, which doesn't have to be as big as this, but it might be. And the timer is testing a command block, and it's testing for a block position. It's testing for the existence of something. Test for block, dragon egg, because the dragon egg is the condition. You could also have things like a jukebox with a particular thing in it, or you could have a chest entirely filled with feathers. I'm going to have to check and see whether you can test to have the position, the presence of a naturally spawned iron golem. Anything you can test for with a command block can be the goal condition of a Place the Key map. And, excuse me. Once you've passed that test, you're using a comparator to find the presence of the... Let me put this back. it's testing that one. And that one withdraws. I want to have this saved in a condition that is blank. And what you do is fire off some kind of redstone chain. And this is one way of doing it. One way of doing it that cannot be interfered with by other things somewhere. Because you don't want players putting redstone blocks next to things and firing off parts of your mechanism. And then you're firing chains, determining what happens then. And you're changing game rules, and you're doing things. And you can make the whole map and the whole experience of it very interesting and novel. Because anything that you can change in game rules, like regeneration, for instance, or the day-night cycle, for instance, all of these things can be altered using the command blocks. And you can also do logic with command blocks, for instance, with the pistons I showed you. Or other things. Like an earlier version of this, it fired this command block over here when you had the player place an egg. But the reason it's set up the way that it is doesn't actually have to be anymore, but it is. In fact, it so doesn't have to be that I'll put that way. That originally had another comparator which pointed this way, which fired this block. And this block is the one testing for kills. So what happened there was, if the person who was placing the block in nearest had killed something, you had that fire this and also this. It fired this command block, which fired this, and I put a delay on here so that this piston would fire first, before the signal got through to do the winning chain. Now the problem with doing that was this. If you did it once, and you fired that, there's no way to replace the dragon egg. If you break it, it's gone. There's only one. And if you've powered a command block, unless you unpower it, you can't repower it. So the command block inducing guilt in the presence of having killed something was permanently powered, and there was nothing that you could do to solve it at that point. So we had to do it in such a way that you could power this chain and then clear the guilt of the kill score. Now the radius, the distance part, this is R32, it's anything within the distance of 32. That wouldn't have to be there, in which case anywhere you were in the map, if you were closer than the Fluttershy, this would fire, and then if you were farther away than the Fluttershy, this would not. But either way, that stays powered, and this now runs independently, because it's also running off of the timer. And what that means is that you can do it wrong, have some other person place the thing, or be standing closer to this block, because it's this point that they're actually testing. If the person who's killed something is closer to this point than the Fluttershy, that's when it decides that you're guilty and it doesn't work. But if you do that and they're run separately, then you can fire that, nothing happens, and what then happens is you go, okay, Fluttershy, you have to stand near here and nobody else stand near it. And at that point, the Fluttershy is the nearest, and this fires, and then this unpowers, and that goes off. And that's also why I redesigned this chain. This chain originally was to kill everybody. If the wrong person placed it, it killed everybody. But the first time we played it, there was a wrong person standing too near to the machine when the right person placed it. And that was, you can't have people all wither and die in nausea and blindness just because somebody stood the wrong place when they were doing everything else right. So I had to settle that down a little bit, which I think is only reasonable. And this has been the demonstration of the Nightmare Moon Machine. What you do is, having successfully made this, you go into MC Edit, and you select the whole thing. I've cleared a little space out underneath it, but you don't really need one. You select the entire block and entire box and one space of air above it. And then what you do is you just place it and empty it without changing its orientation, because the blocks are referring to positions in the world, and it'll be placed in a different position, but if it's a relative position, then it will still be referring to this. But if you rotated it, the thing under here would be looking up to, and then, supposing you turned it this way, it would be looking for the dragon egg here. And there's nothing to indicate the dragon egg would be here. So if you bring something like this into MC Edit, you have to place it as it was placed. And find a good place to put it so that it looks nice, facing the direction it's going to face, because it's going to be stuck the direction that you placed it, even if you can place it anywhere you want. That is the end of my little discussion on how to place the key maps. I hope these become a thing. I'm not sure whether it's going to be helpful that it's just a bunch of ponies doing all of this, but, you know, that's our crowd. Our server is all pony, all the time, and you just have to deal with it. And very likely some of these maps are also going to be pony themed, but the thing is, you don't have to be a pony in order to play Nightmare Moon. The parts that you need to know about are simply that you place a dragon egg, and that's the way you win the map, and the person placing the dragon egg has to have never killed anything, which is an additional constraint for the map. It means that somebody has to be a non-combatant player and not even kill food animals. We call that Fluttershy because, well, that's Fluttershy for you. But you don't have to be a pony to play it that way. So, I hope Nightmare Moon is fun for everybody. Bye-bye. Hello. I'm back. Turns out I tested it out and things didn't work exactly the way that I wanted to, so here's what we had to change. You can see that I've put in a lot of glowstone to keep things from spawning in here, and also to keep Endermen from teleporting inside here. Because that's basically really bad, the Endermen coming in. They put blocks down and bad things can happen. Oh, I put a flower. That was going to be a little surprise, but it's more important that I tell you what happened when we try to test this. You see, I went and played this map, and placed the dragon egg in a sort of test, even while I had been killing things. And what happened was, dawn happened, but then dawn started happening over and over again, which was not what I had in mind. So, here's what I've done to fix this, because when you're doing complicated redstone things, and the behavior of the result isn't what you want, you have to go and edit it and change things. Remember, always replace this redstone block. If you've run this circuit and it's turned this to a redstone block, if you get dawn once, this becomes the redstone block and this is permanently powered. Now what that means is this. The power's gone through this, so it's powering that. I changed this piston from a sticky piston to a regular piston. Now if it moves this over, this is just going to stay here. So if you get dawn once, dawn permanently is going to power everything. Also, if you get dawn once, then that powers this redstone, which powers this block, and this piston goes off only when this chain goes to it. Turns out if you power this block underneath it, it doesn't go on. So this going on doesn't push it back, but if you've won the game, and that redstone block is moved over and it's powered this, then it powers this piston, and it becomes impossible for this block to go back over. I've already tested that. I tried to, I moved it over, and then I put a lever here, trying to power this block, and it wouldn't go if this piston was extended. So, now what will happen is, if you have a guilty pony, and they're powering this, what might well happen is this starts getting powered and unpowered. But since this is now not a sticky piston, it won't matter. What'll happen is if somebody who's been killing things comes closer to this than the Fluttershy, then what happens is this piston goes in and out and it makes noises. And this will go in and out as well, and that'll make noises too, but it won't actually change the behavior of the redstone, and it won't actually fire off any of these chains. So then it becomes just a noise-making machine. But that's it. This is what the machine looks like on the inside when I put the glowstone in there. And I will just start filling this up like I have to do. Because pretty much every time you do something like this, you have to rebuild it and re-import the thing into MCEdit. Maybe I should show you that. Or maybe not. I haven't really decided. Anyway, we are now finished with this again. So with a bit of luck, that's actually the final take on the Nightmare Moon machine, because I had to fix that final behavior. And again, if you have redstone and you're fixing the final behavior, what you have to do is put in pistons and you put in more logic and you get it to so that it does what you want it to do. Because that's how it's got to be. So have fun making your own Place the Key devices. Bye-bye.